Hey everybody, welcome to T. Roy Cooks. Appreciate you joining us. Old Troy here. It's the Thursday Chat with Troy. If you've never joined us before on one of these, this is where I answer your questions that you've left me in the comments below the videos here. So I've got a bunch of them, man. I can't thank you enough for all the questions. I've probably got like 6 pages of questions here. See how many we can get through. Again, thank you very much. Y'all you're asking some good questions. So let's get down to it. What do you say? Nick. Hey Troy, enjoy the videos. Recently bought an 18.5 Weber Smoky Mountain. Do you make your own rub? If so, do you mind sharing your recipe? Thanks, and keep smoking. Nick, I don't really make my own recipes up for rubs. If I do, it's just whatever I have on hand in the pantry. But most of the time I've got either Oak Ridge barbecue rubs, I've got the Tango spice blends, and I've got Texas barbecue rubs. That's my main 3 that I use. And my good friend David over at Grill Warrior, Grilling Magic, he got some good stuff too that I'm still using. So I've got plenty of rubs. I don't really need to make my own. But I will tell you, I'm going to plan on making my own rubs when I have more time to develop the rubs and test them out. And that way, when I have those ready, then I will happily sell those products to all of you on the internet. Great question. I appreciate it, man. Rusty KC. Hey Troy, love your channel. Oh, love your channel. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, Rusty. You briefly spoke about something I had been wondering about, and that is grilling fish. I can grill salmon, and it is good and all that, but I can catch crappie here in Missouri, and they are great fried. Man, I tell you, I love me some fried fish. That's my favorite way of eating fish is fried, man. Anything fried, that's good. So, how do you cook yours on the grill? And do you by chance have a video doing it? Also, have you ever smoked crappie? And how did it turn out? Or do you have any pointers for smoking crappie? I have cooked it on the grill, and I cook it just like I would any other, like orange roughy or any other tilapia or something like that, you know. Put a little oil or butter on it, a little salt and pepper, maybe a little garlic, maybe a little lemon juice, you know, and throw it on the grill. Just let that baby go. I just find that, and I don't do it very often, because I find that when I do grill fish, it takes a couple of more cooks to get that smell out of your grill, you know. So I don't really grill a whole lot of fish. What's something that I've been wanting to try and I haven't yet is putting the fish on like a cedar plank or alder wood plank, something like that, and then putting that on the grill to give it a little extra like smoke flavor and stuff like that. I think that would be fantastic. I did smoke a salmon one time on my Yoder Wichita, and it turned out fantastic. But it's been like 3 years ago, man. I honestly don't remember what I did. I think I cooked it about 250 or 275 Fahrenheit, and probably put some dill and some butter on it, salt and pepper, and just let it go right on the grill grate there, man. And it did turn out really good. Of course, I had the skin on one side, and that helped protect my grill a little bit. It's good stuff. Fried is my favorite, though. I love fried fish. Now, we do grill fish sometimes if Karen's doing like a fish tacos. Yeah, and again, it's just orange roughy or tilapia, or I like mahi-mahi. Stuff like that's great on the grill. Yeah, good stuff. I apologize. It's really windy out here, folks. So, again, I apologize. You can probably see the wind blowing back behind me back here. But it's coming from behind my camera, so hopefully you're not getting much noise. All right, Christopher Shelton. Good afternoon, T-Roy. Hope you're doing better, buddy. Hope you're feeling better, brother. I am. I'm feeling really good. I appreciate your inquiring about it. I sure do enjoy your videos, and I just happened upon them while researching the Weber Smoky Mountain. I recently retired a 14-year-old offset smoker and wanted something different this time around, and Weber was on the short list. Anywho, I went with the Weber Smoky Mountain 22-inch and did a couple of your suggested mods. Yeah, you put the cross grate in the bottom for the charcoal, and also the River Country thermometer. That's some good mods, man. I love them. So the question is, what type of work are you in? I answered that last week. Security network engineer kind of guy. And when using the Weber Smoky Mountain, how often do you use the lower cooking chamber, and do you think having a second thermometer in the Weber for that area would help with the monitoring of the cook? Oh, and Shiner Dark Lager. Get you a pull of that, son. Christopher. Shiner does have some great products, man. I do like their beers. In fact, I'm drinking another one right here from a local Austin brewery. What's this I'm drinking today? This is Weekend Warrior Pale Ale from Karbach Brewing Company here in Austin. Good stuff. It's got a little bit of a IPA flavor to it, a little bitterness. But I like it. It's good stuff. Alright, let's see. The midsection, great on the Weber Smoky Mountain. The only time I really use it is if I'm doing like a big party, a pool party or something, then I'll throw that on there. But usually if I'm doing a large party like that, I'll just use my Yoder Wichita. I personally, in my case, with what I do in my Weber Smoky Mountain, I use water in the pan, and I know that second grill grade is always 15 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than the top grade. I've done quite a few different measurements with it, and it's always in that range, 15 to 20 degrees lower. So I don't really feel that it's necessary to put a thermometer in the midsection. And what I will do is put a meat probe in the meat that I put on that middle section. And that way I can monitor the meat itself. But again, I know using water in the water pan, it's going to run 15 to 20 degrees cooler. You may have different results if you're using sand or ceramic briquettes or anything like that in the water pan. But just test it out. I don't think that you would need a second thermometer. It just, I don't know, unless you just want to look cool. Now, I always forget to mention this at the beginning. If you want to see some, if you want to get the links of the products I'm talking about, or the websites, the YouTube channels of people that I mention, websites for products I use, any of that good stuff, just hit show more below the video. It'll open the description box for you, and all of that information will be listed right there, along with each of the questions and where at in the video that those questions were asked and answered. So click show more for the description box. Hey man, I got a ton of these questions here. Again, like 6 pages or so. I'm gonna try to get through them pretty quick today. But I don't know how long this video is going to be. I got my timer set for like 25 minutes. We'll see how far I get. Eric MDY. Hey there, Troy. Love the videos, brother. Lots of good information. Just had a quick question. Do you use logs of wood? And if so, how do you season them? How long do you season them for? And what would be a good spot to keep the wood during the seasoning process as far as keeping termites, etc. from the wood? I get my wood from a tree cutting service locally. They actually season the wood for a good year before they'll sell it to people who have a fireplace or using it for a cooker. So it is well seasoned, and they also come and deliver it and stack it for me. So that's pay a little extra for that, but it saves me a lot of time in the long run. Plus, I don't get the splinters and crap in my hands, all that. Anyway, I use a local tree cutting service. What I have found out in the country, I grew up in rural areas, people will chop their wood up, quarter the log or half the log, and just stack it up, 4 or 5 feet high between a couple of trees, to get a couple of trees, put the stack of wood between them, the trees hold up that stack, and they just leave it out there in the wild open for a year or so, man. Just let it season up naturally. They don't cover it or anything. If that works for them, I don't know why it wouldn't work for you. David Bollinger, enjoy all your videos. Keep up the good work. Hey, appreciate that, David. I'm curious, when smoking on the Yoder and deciding to wrap, why not transfer to the oven inside and save on wood expense? After all, the smoke flavor will have already infused into the meat. On yours and other videos, I've never seen this done. Why not? Well, when you're passionate about barbecue, you want a really nice bark. And if you want to take the meat out and put it in your oven after it's reached about 140 degrees Fahrenheit internal, that's the point where it doesn't really absorb any more smoke. So you can do that, but your bark is not going to be anywhere near what it would be if you left it on your pit. The rub and the salt and pepper and other spices that are on the surface of that meat, they attract the smoke, and that's how you develop your bark. And you're just killing your bark, and you may have a little color on it, but you're not going to get the color if you would have left it on the pit the whole time. The one thing that's interesting that I do is let's say I'm just really tired, but I've got a party coming up and I need to cook a brisket or a pork butt, something that's going to take 10, 12 plus hours. If I'm really tired, what I will do is start the pork butt or the brisket on my Yoder Wichita. And after it gets to close to the stall point, around 160 or so Fahrenheit, then I will take it off, and I will already have my Weber Smoky Mountain fired up at the same temp, usually about 225. And I will take that meat off the Yoder and put it on my Weber Smoky Mountain, and I'll go get some sleep. And I do throw little wood chunks into the Weber Smoky Mountain so that it does still have some smoke going on in there to help develop that bark. But the Weber Smoky Mountain, and the same thing with Kamados, Kamado Joe and Big Green Egg and stuff, you know, those things are set it and forget it. So you can get some sleep on a long cook. That's what I do sometimes. It's kind of cheating, but in a sense, you know, you get some sleep for your party the next day. Just throwing it out there. Let's see. Neil O'Sullivan. Hi, Troy. Neil from the United Kingdom here. I gotta say, I love your videos, and you've inspired me to get involved and have some fun with my barbecue. Well, Neil, that's what this channel is all about, my friend. Just inspiring people to get out there and cook and to put love into your food. That's, you know, a lot of people can cook, but you've really got to put some passion into it to make it taste good, you know. And the people that are eating your food can tell that you really put some love into it. So I'm glad that I can inspire you to do your barbecue cooks. Man, I love barbecue. That's good stuff, man. All right, he says, I just celebrated the big 4-0. Happy birthday to you. And my wife has bought me a Weber Smoky Mountain after I've been hooked on your videos. That's a sweet wife right there, Neil. I'll tell you, man. God dog it. All right, any suggestions for a first cook? Also, I've seen people in videos and forums discuss seasoning a new smoker. Do I need to do this with the Weber Smoky Mountain? Excuse me. For a first cook, I would recommend something fatty, like some chicken or pork butt. Yeah, those mainly would be the two that I would go with. You can do a brisket, but I would stick with a pork butt or chicken. As far as getting the new Weber Smoky Mountain, what I have found, my own experience, is that it runs hot at first. It will take probably 4 to 6 full cooks on it before it gets some carbon buildup on the inside, and that helps to insulate the inside, so it'll maintain temps a lot easier, and also it'll make your food taste a lot better. So when you first get your Weber Smoky Mountain, and I apologize for the sun again, really windy out here today. When you first get your Weber Smoky Mountain, though, put maybe a chimney load of charcoal in there and fire it up and just let it go. You know, you can leave the vents wide open if you want all the time, because it's just a chimney of charcoal is not that much. But let that thing cook, you know, just with no meat on it for 2 or 3 hours. And then at that point, if you still have some charcoal lit, you can just let it finish, and the coals will die out by themselves, or you just close all of the vents, both top and bottom, and that'll snuff out the coals. What that does, it burns out the manufacturing oil from the manufacturing process where they cut the metal for the Weber Smoky Mountain. And you want to burn that oil out. And once that's done, you know, once you do that first cook with no meat on it to burn that oil out, you let it cool off real good. Perhaps the next day you come back and you can spray the entire inside with some non-stick cooking spray, like some Pam or something else of that nature. It doesn't have to be a high temp because you're not really cooking at high temps. But what that oil is going to do, it's going to help the smoke particles and all of the stuff on the inside of the Weber Smoky Mountain it's going to help it season up real well, kind of like a cast iron skillet would season. The more you cook in it, the more the buildup is on it. The same thing happens with your Weber Smoky Mountain on the inside. So again, it's probably going to run a little hot your first 4 to 6 cooks, and it's going to be a little difficult to maintain temps, but just stick with it. After that 4th to 6th cook, you're going to be cruising right along. It's going to be a set it and forget it, and you're going to love the food that comes off of it. And the food just keeps getting better and better the more you cook on it too. So again, happy birthday. I'm glad you got the Weber Smoky Mountain. You're going to love it, and your wife is going to love the barbecue that you cook on it as well. It's good stuff. Matthias Muth. I got 2 questions for you, buddy. Hit me, Matthias. Is there a certain dish you love to cook but don't want to spend the time or don't want to spend the money for certain ingredients, like a special cut of meat or whatever? And also, do you ever consider doing a barbecue trip to meet up with some of the new barbecue guys on YouTube? Man, I'll tell you what, I love ribeye steaks, and I can eat those day in and day out. But beyond that, I really do wish that the rib cap would be a little bit cheaper, because I love rib cap. It's almost as tender as the point on the brisket. It's really, really flavorful because it's from the ribeye. And if you're not knowing what I'm talking about, the rib cap, let's say you got a ribeye steak, all right? And you got the center, which is the eye of the ribeye. Well, that fatty edge around the outside edge, that's the rib cap. Now, what a butcher will do, he'll take a whole ribeye roast, like a prime rib roast, and he'll cut that outside cap off so that you basically have a rectangular slab of meat that's just nothing but pure rib cap. And it is delectable. It is really, really good. My good friends at Lobel's of New York sell it. It's a little pricey, but man, is it good. I've actually got a video doing one of the Lobel's rib caps. Man, that's some fine eating right there. So yeah, I wish it was cheaper. I wish I could get my hands on it a little bit easier and more often. Love that, man. Road trips. I love doing road trips. I really do. I've done plenty of road trips. Just to name a few, I visited John Holla in West Virginia. I went towards Washington, D.C., and me and Larry Wolf actually met up with Glenn the bald chef. I had John on the brand because I also went to California and got to hang out with Big Meat Sunday, John. Got to hang out with Ballistic Barbecue, Greg, and also Mother's Barbecue, Chris. Fine folks, fine folks. And of course, I've been to Keith Bettag's house in Indiana. And JB's house, of course, in Baton Rouge, where we met up every year, still do for the spring fling every year, crawfish boil. Of course, I've been to my brother Moonshine's Roadhouse in Baton Rouge. So yeah, I enjoy traveling, getting out and meeting all these other YouTubers and stuff. And yeah, I'd love to meet some of the new YouTubers that are out there. They've got a bunch of us that actually live up and down the I-35 corridor, all the way from Dallas, heading down south towards Corpus Christi. I visited in Corpus Christi. I went to see Surfing Sapo. Great guy, great guy. All the YouTube brothers and sisters out there that do cooking shows, man, we're all one huge family. All of us are really, really, really good people. It's a blessing to have such good friends, I tell you. Yeah, perhaps one day if maybe when I retire or something, or I don't have a Monday through Friday job, then I could do more traveling. We'll see what happens. I would love to do it though. That's great questions, Matthias. Snuff Nation, love your vids, man. I gotta ask, do you dip? Also, have you ever tried the constant flip method on ribeyes or whatever steaks you like? Snuff Nation, man, I tell you, I do dip. I dip red seal. I started out dipping skull, but it got really expensive. I mean, Texas has real high taxes on their tobacco products. So I just cut out the skull, and I'm now doing red seal, which it's kind of hard to find. When I'm out doing traveling and stuff, it's hard to find red seal out in other states. But yeah, I do. The constant flip method on ribeyes, I've tried it, but and I guess it would work pretty good on a thin cut ribeye. But I like my ribeyes like 1 3/4 to 2 inches thick. So usually what I do is the reverse sear method, which I've shown plenty of times on videos. Just cook indirectly until it gets to 110, 115 internal. Then crank your heat up and sear the steak the rest of the way until it gets to the desired doneness. That's my favorite way of doing it. But I don't know. It seems like when you do the constant flip method, you don't get the char marks on the cross hash marks on the outside that much. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Jay Bird, you are very articulate. I'm very articulate, aren't I? Jay Bird says, you are very articulate and obviously educated. What do you do job-wise? Now, I don't mean to ask for particulars, but just what you might care to tell us fans in that regard. Love this Q&A, Troy. Great show. Look forward to it each Thursday. Jay Bird, man, I appreciate that, bro. I feel the love, man. I really do. I've answered this a bunch of times, and your question's probably a couple of weeks old. I think I answered it last week. Excuse me. Security network engineer. I'll just leave it at that. Let's see. All right, small town barbecue. Another question, T-Roy. Briskets, how do you prefer yours? I know people say low and slow. What about hot and fast? Say a 5 to 6 hour cook rather than a 10 to 12 or 14 hour cook. I like the low and slow. I'm just an old-fashioned kind of guy. I actually enjoy sitting outside and tending to the fire on my Yoder Wichita. Man, I love that smell, the aroma that's filling the air. I just love it, man. If I can prolong that to 10, 12, 14 hours, I will. Now, if I'm in a hurry, you know, if I woke up late or something and I've got a party going on at noon, and I can cook hot and fast, but in my opinion, the meat just doesn't come out quite the same. It doesn't taste the same. I don't know. I just don't like it as much as when you do it old school style, just slow and slow. And the bark is so wonderful. The longer you leave that meat in there, the longer that bark can get it enhanced with all the smoke particles and stuff, you know, to really give you a really nice flavor, man. Ooh, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So low and slow for me, man. Jake Edinger, Mr. Troy, this is a two-part question. I was wondering how you felt about the UDS, and have you ever used one? Also, do you drink bourbon? If so, what's your favorite brand? All right, I'll do the bourbon question first. I like me some Maker's Mark, man. Love Maker's Mark. Big shout out to all my Kentucky brothers and sisters out there. All right, UDS. I've never used one, and I really don't have room for any more pits, so I'm not going to get one. Tell you what, Phil over at Daddy Cooks, he's got a really nice one that he did himself. He made it himself, and he pulls off some great looking barbecue off that thing, man. But I will say, a lot of them that I have seen, I haven't seen this with Daddy Cooks, but a lot of the regular ones that you can buy, you know, when I've seen people pull meat off of them, especially on like ribs or something that's hanging really low in them, that lower section of the rib rack is almost looks burnt because it's closer to the heat. So I'm thinking they don't have a lot of good airflow. I don't know. It just looks like the bottom of the ribs close to the fire get burnt, and the tops are not, you know, maybe not as cooked because they're further away from the heat. I don't really know. I've never eaten anything off of one of them, but you know, I don't know. Daddy Cooks, he pulls off some fine looking barbecue off his, so maybe it is an airflow thing. I really don't know. Let's see. Small Town Barbecue asks another one. Hot and fast brisket or low and slow brisket, and why do you prefer it? Oh, you asked that twice. I just answered that for you. Smoking Hams Barbecue. Look at here, we're on page 3 already. How we doing on time? Oop, getting close. Alright, with your offset smoker, did you do any modifications with it, or does it hold heat even across the grate? Now, I know a lot of you are going to argue with me on this point. I don't like my cooking chamber on my offset to have the even cooking temperature all the way across. I like to have mine about a 50-degree variance from end to end. And I do that because sometimes you get a stubborn piece of meat, and let's say you want part of the meat to cook faster than the other part. I can do that on mine. If I've got the complete cooking chamber all the same temperature, you can't do that. Unless you want to wrap part of the meat, you know, and leave half of it unwrapped. You know, that I guess would work. But no, I like mine to have 50-degree variance from end to end, you know, approximately. And I do have a tuning plate in there, a heat management plate they call it at Yoder, and I can adjust it if I really wanted to adjust it for even temps across my cooking chamber. But I've got it adjusted the way I like it. And as far as the add-ons, I got the fully loaded Yoder Wichita, and I had them add on a couple of items. I had them add the propane burner that's in the firebox. I had them add a little Yoder smoker plate welded to by the wheels down there, and I had a cover added on. Anyway, the stuff that's on there I didn't put on myself. I had Yoder put it on while they built it. All right, let's see. Tim Camholtz. Troy, do you ever cook with just charcoal and no wood? Yeah, I have, but I really like the smoke flavor from wood. I mean, you can get a little bit of that from charcoal because it has wood particles in it. But, you know, I have done it. I just don't do it a lot. In fact, if I had a Weber kettle, I probably would do it more often. But I don't do it on my Weber Smoky Mountain. I will say, sometimes when I grill a steak on my Weber Smoky Mountain, you know, I'll just use the base of it and put the grill grate right over the charcoal. Sometimes I'll grill a steak that way, but that's really the only time I do it. Neil Prythurch, and man, I'm sorry, Neil, I messed your name up there, bro. I'll tell you. My question for next week's episode regards ribs. be it beef or pork. I'm of the same belief that clean off the bone is too far into the cook. I like tender with a bit of bite to it, not where you pick it up by the bone and it falls off. So my question is, despite the bend check with tongs, what else can you look for in terms of tenderness and readiness when slow cooking ribs? I've done beef short ribs on my Weber kettle better than on my Yoder, and I can't figure out why. Your Weber kettle is a smaller environment that the meat cooks in. That's probably helping you, and it's probably what you're more used to. I would say give the Yoder a little more time to get used to it. It will, in the end, I'm sure, produce better quality, better tasting meat as far as ribs go, you know, for anything that matter. So just don't give up on the Yoder. Just keep working with it. Let it keep seasoning up on the inside. The food just keeps getting better and better on it. But yeah, I think that one thing you could do is, if you don't want to use the tongs, you know, to test your ribs, you can use a toothpick. Ribs are so thin, they can just use a toothpick and stick it into the meat and see if it goes through like butter, you know, like room temperature butter. That's a good indication that they're ready. And sometimes too, the meat itself, yeah, my timer's up. That's been 25 minutes, folks. The meat itself is so thin, and a lot of times what it'll do, you'll see it start pulling away from the bones on the ends. It'll kind of shrink up on the ends and get taller in the middle. And also sometimes the meat itself will start separating, like it's splitting a little bit. That's another indication that you're ready to pull it off. But toothpick works really well, man. All right, let's see if I can whip out a couple more of these. Yeah, I just got, let me do one more here. TNT barbecue. Thyron, where you at there, big boy? Big T, I call him. So what's your input on pellet smokers and also electric smokers? Do you think that's real barbecue, or is it an attempt to copy the original barbecue? Looking forward to the answers. I use a lot of different grills, but I'd like to have your input on those questions. Feel free to tell me like it is. All right, Thyron. I've never owned a pellet smoker. I've tasted meat off of a pellet smoker, and it is quite good. But it's real similar to the meat that you would find on a Kamado type cooker or your Weber Smoky Mountain. It has the same type flavor, I think. It's not going to come close to what you can get off the offset, though. The offset is primo, man. That produces the absolute best barbecue, in my opinion. Again, in my own mind, authentic barbecue, low and slow, is going to be best on a stick burner, an offset smoker. The newer, I got squirrels jumping all over the place. The pellet type cookers, and even like the Weber Smoky Mountain and your Kamado cookers, they're great. They're set it and forget it, you know, so you don't have to fuss with the fire and all that. But that takes a lot of the joy out of it, and you don't get quite the flavor that you would on an offset, you know. So my preference is the offset. It always will be. If I've got a big party coming and I want to impress my friends and family with some great barbecue, I'm going to use my offset, okay? All right, now I got one more. I promised Jared I would answer this one earlier this week. Cold smoking, Jared F. He says, cold smoking. I'd like to try some cheese and breakfast sausage this winter. Have you ever cold smoked meats, cheeses, and do you have any advice about temps, times, and fuel? Jared, I have not. It's something I've been wanting to do. I know that with like the sausages, you have to cook the meat, meaning you're going to need a little higher temp, like a 160 to 175 degree range Fahrenheit. For your cheeses, you don't need to cook them, so you can do lower, like 120, 140 Fahrenheit. And what I've seen, in fact, my good friend out in Norway, Jatil, with Elton's Barbecue Pit, he found one of these like a metal box that looks like a snake inside of it, and you put your wood dust in there, and light one end, and it'll slowly burn down one length, and it'll turn around and come back up the other, just like a snake going, you know, coiled up or whatever. And he gets really good quality product using that method. It gives a little smoke and a little bit of heat. So if I were ever to do any kind of cheese or even a cold smoked fish, that's the route that I would go. But for sausages or any other like jerky and stuff, you're going to want about 160 degree Fahrenheit. It's a little bit higher temp, so you might need to use charcoal for that. along with some wood chips or wood chunks. All right, that's all we got today, folks. I'll catch up on the rest of these next week, and y'all keep asking the questions. Want to give a quick shout out too. I got to speak to one of my dear friends that I watch all the time, Jan Charles. She's got a wonderful YouTube channel. I like her videos because she goes in depth with her cooks, kind of like I do. So her videos tend to be a little bit longer, but man, I love that. She cooks her butt off. If y'all not familiar with Jan Charles, y'all go check her out. And also her website is the Thrill Billy Gourmet. I'll put the links down below. Y'all just click the show more, and it'll open the description box, like I said in the beginning, and you can find all the YouTube channels I mentioned, the links for different websites and whatnot, and my social media and all that. But yeah, it was great talking to you, Jan. If you see this, I really enjoyed the conversation yesterday, and look forward to talking to you again. And everybody, cheers to you. Appreciate y'all joining. Keep asking questions. Just put your questions in the comments below this video. I will get to them as soon as I can. And again, I try to do 10 or 15 questions every week. And 2 minutes a question, that's half hour. So we'll keep plugging away at it. Y'all keep asking questions. I'll keep doing these. Glad y'all enjoyed it. I sure do enjoy it. Love each and every one of you. And man, I hope y'all tell all your friends about me and y'all spread the word. And y'all give me thumbs up. And when you talk to your friends, hope you share the video with them. And be sure and remind them that T. Roy cooks responsibly. Cheers, everybody.